the Remington-Smoot New Model No. 3 Revolver. We have another old interesting gun from about the 1870s. One time when Remington used to make handguns, they had this Smoot's patent, I guess, was the name of this revolver. And they were called the new models. And you had the Model 1, which was basically in a 30 rimfire. You had the Model 2, which was in 30 and 32 rimfire. And this is the Model 3, which was in 38 short rimfire and 38 centerfire, which this is. Also, there are two variations on this number 3. This type with the saw handle, and then there was the earlier version had just a bird's head style grip without this protrusion here, which they call a sawback handle. The earlier models all had bird heads grips. Okay, and the thing about this is you got two variations in two calibers. 38 short rimfire, and this one here, which is the 38 centerfire. And out of the 25,000 of these guns produced, it was the last 6,000 that had this style grip and frame, the sawback. It's a pretty interesting little spur trigger gun. It has an ejection rod. I believe it's a 5-shot, and it works basically like most of your single action guns. You got your half cock, which you would load. Yeah, I think it's only a 5-shot. 5-shot revolver. There's no loading gate, just a loading port here. And it's single action only. It's not a double action. A little spur trigger gun. Now how you'd load it is you'd pull it back to the half cock, and your cylinder rotates. Half. Yeah, it's full. Okay, half cock. And then what's interesting is you have this little rod. So this one came with a, it's hard to line it up, with an ejector rod there. So pretty neat. Lockup on this is still pretty good. I can't really quite find out what 38 centerfire is, or the designation. I don't know if it's just a centerfire version of the rimfire cartridge, because at the time this gun was made, rimfire cartridges were starting to fall out of favor in terms with centerfire, which, you know, stuck with today predominantly is what most cartridges are, is centerfire. Now, the only markings on the gun is on the top of the rib of the barrel is the Remington address. That's about it. I haven't really found anything else on here in terms of numbers, serial numbers, or nothing like that. You have to remember, a lot of companies didn't serial number their guns or keep very accurate records of them either. So that's why when you look this up in Fladelman's, it says estimated 25,000, estimated 6,000 with the numbers, because they don't have any verifiable records. But it's the era, it's more well made than like that Smoker's, more of a department store gun or mail order gun, as you call this. This is more of a substantial design. It's pretty solid. Like I said, it had the ejector rod. The action's pretty solid. You can tell by looking at it. It's well made, well built, complicated mechanism in that. And it has the older style rubber grips. Now I don't know, like I was mentioning on the Colt New Police, you see where the pin kind of holds into the bottom of the grips, and that's what keeps the grips from moving. I don't know if these were scalloped out. I know one of them is broken slightly here and chipped off. But I don't know if these are broken, if these should be like closed, or somebody banged it. There is a company that makes reproduction grips for this. So I may get a pair just to see what they look like. Because I'm not sure if these are the way they were made or if they're broken at one time. But, like I said, a nice little well-made gun. It's pretty intricate with little parts. Now, if you look down into here, you have the one ball on the end of your rod. But down in here, there's a little lever. And then I think what you do is you push this lever, it either locks down or up. And then what you want to do is with that lever, you release this second ball here, and this will move up. Okay, slide along. It's kind of hard for me to show you, hold it up to the camera, so we'll try to do it down here. Okay, you take the second one, get that thing out of the way. Let me see. Okay, as you see how this slides up, you slide this second ring up and it gets to the point where you go to half cock. You slide this up far enough, there is a spring in there. It should disengage your cylinder, and that's how you get the cylinder out. There, now I'll be able to show you a little easier. This slides up, but don't want to kind of slide easy for me. But as you move the cylinder rod, see how that's connected there? There, you can see, give you an understanding of it. And if you can look inside the frame, you'll see where this frame was cut for either rim or center fire. It's got two holes in the frame. So this frame will work with either a rim fire or a center fire. You can see that down in there. So it's probably the 38 center fire was also in the latter part of the production run. Cylinder's pretty, thick. I think somebody had a video where they were showing a number 1 or something, and it mentioned something in there that the earlier ones, they cut the cylinders were too thin, and the walls would give out on them. Or I think they kind of corrected that with this. The bore on this is good. It's shootable. I've tried to shoot it, and I use just 38 Smith & Wessons in there. I haven't done the research on what 38 centerfire is. So then to get this back, you just pull your rod back out, drop your cylinder in, try to get it lined up there. Click, there it goes. And then slide this back and get your lever. Spring might be down like that, that little tab in there. And now we're pretty well locked up. This upper ball rides in this groove where there's a spring, there's a pin and a little cap, and there's a spring inside this under barrel rib here, this hollowed out rib. And that runs along in there. It's a pretty complex little gun for what it is. It's a well-made little gun, and good, robust action, but a complex thing compared to that, like that other smoker, which is just basically a spur trigger. You just load it and there's no provision for taking anything out. And you can tell the quality, the weight of this gun is heavy, it's well made, it's well built. Just an interesting old piece of history. I have to do some more research on what the cartridge is. 38 centerfire. It may use it may be a cartridge that uses a healed bullet, much like the rimfire. I tried slugging the bore on this. The bore is not mint. It's got rifling in it. And I slugged the 38 rimfire. That's why I kind of bought them together to see the difference. And I think the groove diameter is a tad bit tighter on this one. But like I said, with the erosion and that in the bore, it's hard to tell. I don't have a mint example of this gun. But interesting little piece, all in all. Something kind of unusual. Kind of one of them deals that came up in the auction and I had to have it. And I got it at a fairly reasonable price, even though it's not mint or pristine condition. But it is functional and working and not in terrible shape. So another little interesting gun we got. Another odd old cartridge to try to replicate and get working in it. Like I said, I did fire this with some 38 Smith & Wessons. It didn't blow up on me, so something else to do some more research on, tinker with, and get out there and maybe take it out to the range and make a video of us shooting it.